31 Interesting Psychological Facts About Human Behavior. These 31 interesting psychological facts about human behavior will not only shed light on why we do what we do, but also help you better understand yourself and the people around you. So, whether you're a psychology enthusiast or just curious about the quirks of human nature, this video is for you. 1. The sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy is our tendency to continue investing in something that isn't working simply because we've already invested so much in it. Whether it's time, money, or effort, we often find it difficult to walk away, even when it's the rational choice. 2. The spotlight effect. The spotlight effect is our tendency to overestimate how much others notice us. Whether it's a small mistake or an awkward moment, we often think people are paying more attention to us than they actually are. 3. The endowment effect. The endowment effect is a psychological phenomenon where we ascribe more value to things simply because we own them. This explains why it's often difficult to part with possessions, even when they have little actual worth. 4. The Pygmalion effect. The Pygmalion effect, also known as the Rosenthal effect, is the phenomenon where higher expectations lead to improved performance. When we believe in someone's potential, we're more likely to encourage and support them, which in turn boosts their confidence and success. 5. The Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect refers to our tendency to remember unfinished tasks better than completed ones. This is why unfinished business often nags at us, and why to-do lists can help keep our minds clear. 6. The placebo effect. The placebo effect is a fascinating phenomenon where people experience real improvements in their health or well-being after receiving a treatment that has no therapeutic value. This happens because their belief in the treatment's efficacy triggers a psychological and physiological response. 7. The pratfall effect. Interestingly, the pratfall effect suggests that people become more likable after making a small mistake, as it makes them appear more human and relatable. However, this effect is strongest when the person is generally competent. Too many mistakes, and it can backfire. 8. The peak end rule. Our memories of an experience are disproportionately influenced by the peak, the most intense point, and the end of the experience, rather than the experience as a whole. This is known as the peak end rule and explains why we often judge an event based on just a few moments. 9. The reciprocity principle. The reciprocity principle is the idea that people feel compelled to return favors. If someone does something nice for us, we're more likely to do something nice in return. This principle is often used in marketing and social interactions to build rapport and encourage cooperation. 10. The self-fulfilling prophecy. A self-fulfilling prophecy occurs when a belief or expectation brings about its own fulfillment. If we expect to fail, we might unconsciously sabotage our efforts, while positive expectations can lead to greater success. 11. The Baader-Meinhof phenomenon. Also known as the frequency illusion, the Baader-Meinhof phenomenon occurs when something you recently learned suddenly seems to appear everywhere. This happens because our brains are primed to notice it more, making it seem more common than it actually is. 12. The contrast effect. The contrast effect is our tendency to perceive something differently depending on its comparison with something else. For example, if you see two products side by side, one might seem better simply because it's compared to the other, even if it's not objectively superior. 13. The paradox of choice. While having choices is generally seen as a good thing, the paradox of choice suggests that too many options can lead to decision paralysis and dissatisfaction. When faced with an abundance of choices, we often worry about making the wrong decision, leading to anxiety and regret. 14. The in-group bias. In-group bias is the tendency to favor people who are part of our own group over those who are not. This can be based on anything from nationality and race to shared interests or affiliations. It's a natural inclination, but it can also contribute to prejudice and discrimination. 15. The false consensus effect. The false consensus effect is our tendency to overestimate how much others share our beliefs, values, and behaviors. We often assume that our views are more common than they actually are, which can lead to misunderstandings and conflicts. 16. The hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill, or hedonic adaptation, refers to our tendency to quickly return to a baseline level of happiness after experiencing positive or negative events. This is why material gains or achievements often provide only temporary satisfaction. 17. The spotlight effect. Have you ever felt like everyone is watching your every move? That's the spotlight effect at work. We often believe that we're the center of attention far more than we actually are, leading to unnecessary self-consciousness. 18. The IKEA effect. The IKEA effect is a cognitive bias where we place higher value on things we partially create ourselves. This is why we're often more attached to DIY projects or products we assemble. 19. The power of the first impression. Did you know that it only takes about 7 seconds to form a first impression? In those few moments, our brains process a variety of cues, appearance, body language, tone of voice, and make snap judgments about a person's character. First impressions are hard to shake, so it's essential to make those initial moments count. 20. The halo effect. The halo effect is a psychological phenomenon where our overall impression of a person influences how we feel and think about their character. For example, if someone is physically attractive, we're more likely to assume they have other positive traits, such as intelligence or kindness, even without evidence. 21. Social proof and conformity. Humans are inherently social creatures, and we often look to others when making decisions. This is known as social proof. We tend to conform to the behaviors of the group, especially in uncertain situations. This can explain why trends catch on and why we're more likely to follow the crowd, even if we're unsure why. 22. The power of eye contact. Eye contact is a powerful tool in communication. It not only conveys confidence and honesty, but also helps build emotional connections. Studies show that people who maintain good eye contact are often perceived as more trustworthy and likable. 23. Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance occurs when we experience discomfort due to holding conflicting beliefs or engaging in behavior that contradicts our beliefs. To reduce this discomfort, we often change our attitudes or justify our behavior, even if it's irrational. 24. The mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect suggests that we tend to develop a preference for things simply because we're familiar with them. This is why repeated exposure to something, be it a song, a person, or even a brand, can lead to increased likability over time. 25. The anchoring effect. This is a cognitive bias where we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive. This anchor influences our subsequent judgments and decisions. For instance, if you're shopping and see an item priced at $1,000 before finding a similar one for $500, the second item seems like a great deal, even if $500 is still expensive. 26. The Dunning-Kruger effect. The Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias where people with low ability at a task overestimate their ability, while experts tend to underestimate theirs. This happens because those with limited knowledge don't know enough to recognize their own mistakes, while experts are more aware of what they don't know. 27. The bystander effect. The bystander effect occurs when people are less likely to offer help in an emergency situation when others are present. The more witnesses there are, the less likely any one person is to step forward, often because they assume someone else will take action. 28. The illusion of transparency. We often believe that our emotions and thoughts are more apparent to others than they actually are. This is called the illusion of transparency. In reality, people are less aware of our internal states than we think, which is why it's important to communicate clearly. 29. The availability heuristic. The availability heuristic is a mental shortcut that relies on immediate examples that come to mind when evaluating a situation. This can lead to overestimating the importance or likelihood of events simply because they're more memorable or recent. 30. The Proust effect. The Proust effect refers to the strong association between sensory experiences, especially smells and memories. A particular scent can instantly transport us back to a specific time or place, evoking powerful emotions and nostalgia. 31. The just world hypothesis. The just world hypothesis is the belief that the world is inherently fair and people get what they deserve. This belief can lead to victim blaming, as it's more comforting to think that bad things only happen to those who somehow deserve them. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Which fact surprised you the most?